Hi guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome to another one of my benchmarking videos. In this video I'm going to benchmark Forza Horizon 3 on a single GTX 1070 paired with my old Core i7-860 just to see how this game fares on an old CPU. It was fairly CPU limited on my Core i5-2500 and I want to see how it performs on the older CPU but with more threads. This video is recorded on an external recorder at 60 frames per second, so what you will see in this video will be pure performance. There are no system resources wasted for recording this video. It would be silly anyway, since it will already be quite CPU limited. Let me see what's going on with the system. I saw some spikes in the CPU usage. Stupid Windows operations, I think. Okay, everything is relaxed and good to go now. The system, the CPU is overclocked to 4 GHz. Let me lower it a bit just to be correct. There it is. It has 12 GB of memory and the graphics card is a single GTX 1070 made by KFA2. It is the EX model. Latest force were installed and the video card is also a little overclocked in order to reach 2 GHz of core clock. Now unfortunately Forza Horizon 3 is a Windows Store game, so Fraps does not work with it. We will not be having the on-screen display for MSI Afterburner, but it is already running, so it will at least log the GPU usage and everything else except frame time and frame rate. But the good thing of the story is that I can use OCAT to gather frame rate data. I will minimize it. I'm going to start the game. OCAT does not display an on-screen display in Windows Store games or DirectX 12 games in general, but trust me, it works and collects very nice frame rate data, very valuable frame rate data. Now I'm going to skip all the videos and initial mambo jumbo and cut straight to the chase, so you guys do not have to wait. Okay, we are now in a real-time session. I have not started the benchmark yet. I'm going to show you the options first, as always. 1080p resolution, of course, no vertical sync due to it being a benchmark. I have also disabled motion blur because it is not a very performance affecting option, but it will mess up my video encoding. And I have enabled, of course, the only on-screen display that we can have in this game, the frame rate meter on the top right. And for the settings, I'm using basically the ultra preset except multi-sampled anti-aliasing. These are the exact settings I used on all my GTX 1070 videos and the 970, I think. In any case, now that this is out of the way, I am going back. Wait a minute. I'm going back into the game and I'm starting the benchmark. OCAT has started logging in the background, don't worry about it. And once I'm finished with the run, I will show you the comparison of the two CPUs, the Core i7-860 and the 2500K. The game is running okay for now. There are some minimal slowdowns at some of the points.
I've got 800 horses here, I'm not afraid to use them.
A brake overhaul, Warren. I left that thing with you for a brake overhaul.
Oh, g'day, Kira. What'd you say? Something about brakes?
We're taking the Great Ocean Road to Byron. Just please, don't do anything stupid.
No, unfortunately there is a video session here that I cannot skip. Thankfully it is very short, so it will not affect the benchmark very much.
Boss, the local press are asking for a photo.
Like,
help me out here. Okay, and what should I call you? Okay, great. So I'll call you Boss.
Like
hey Boss, what do you think of the place? It may not look it yet, but over the summer you're going to turn this into the biggest Horizon festival the world has ever seen. We have an amazing team keeping the festival running, but everything else is on you. You'll be choosing the type of racing we do, the music we play, and the star drivers we sign. This is your festival. Listen, I know you've just arrived, but the very first event starts in a few minutes, and I've got you the best seat in the house. You'll be driving the buggy for the launch event against that Jeep. Thought I'd start you off with an easy one. Let you loosen up. What? I said easy, not boring.
people live in those houses. Watch out!
Warren. Pilot screen. Call it when you're ready to drop.
Righto, there's the finish line. Cut me loose!
Okay, I'm ending the benchmark.
What a way to start the party! Keep pulling in fans at this rate and we'll have to start thinking about expanding the...
I'm going to just force exit the game. Stop. Thank you very much. Let's go to MS Afterburner first. Wait a minute. Okay. So, frame rate and frame times from MS Afterburner are non-existent. The GPU usage, however, does show some interesting stuff. From this point on is the real-time rendering of the game. We can see that the GPU usage is indeed lower than maxed out. We do have a CPU limit in this run as well. It looks about the same as it did on my 2500K benchmark. The CPU usage on the first core is crazy, as you can see. The same scenario plays out again. Maxed out CPU usage on a single core, and the rest of the cores are not doing much work. We can see all the threads on the CPU. It is really interesting to see such a new game being exceptionally single-threaded. That is very sad indeed. The CPU usage overall is a lot less than 50%. At least at 50% you would know that you have activity on all cores and the logical ones. Nothing of the sort is going on here. CPU temps are okay. I expected a little higher CPU temps, to tell you the truth, especially on CPU 1, which was maxed out, but it is quite good. GPU temps are also quite good. RAM usage at 7.2 gigabytes, very demanding in terms of RAM. Of course, this is total system usage, it is not just the game, but if you deduct this one from this one, you can see how much the game took. The core clock of the video card is at 2 GHz throughout the run, except this moment in the video cutscene, which I cannot skip. Video RAM usage at 4.5 gigabytes, quite demanding on the video RAM front as well. And now let's go to the most interesting part, which is the analysis of the whole run and the frame times and the frame rate, etc. I'm going to skip right to the point where I have loaded all my frame rate data, so I do not hold you guys waiting. Okay, I am now ready with all my frame rate data. We're looking at the GTX 1070 plus i7-860 run, which I just did. The average frame rate was at 55 frames per second, with a comparable of 41 frames per second due to variability and stuttering. On the other hand, the GTX 1070 with the 2500 did score better at 64 frames per second and 47 for the comparable. So for now, let's see the visualization of the whole run. We can see some spikes, some delays in the frame times from time to time, and especially if you zoom in closer, you can see that there are some smaller spikes in the frame times. This is probably due to the CPU limit. CPU core number 1 was maxed out and it was getting delayed at some frames. This part is unfortunately the video that I had to include in the whole benchmark. Let's remember how the GTX 1070 with the 2500K looked. We can see, of course, the spikes are fewer, but still they exist. They are pretty evident, no question about it. This is what happens when you have a game engine that is primarily single-threaded. I will have to test this game with a better CPU at some point. I don't know when this will happen, I hope soon. I'm still deciding what to get. In any case, time spent beyond 16.7 milliseconds at 57%. Quite a lot of the frames were delayed. It was only 20% for the 2500K. That clearly shows that the game is dependent on strong single thread performance. Overall, the frame times are below 20 milliseconds for the most part. They are split basically. There are a lot of frame times that are below 16 milliseconds, but unfortunately there are also a lot that are above it. This spike here in the accumulated frame times are from the video, unfortunately. What else? Let's make this a blue something. No, make it green, and I make purple. Okay, no, make it red to be more pronounced. So these two are the runs of the two CPUs. As you can see, the length of both runs is exactly the same. That's why I have chosen this specific type of benchmarking Forza Horizon 3, because I can follow a specific path, if you will, as if I do on my first person shooters, and I can get accurate readings. The green one is the 1070 with the 860. It is clearly slower in rendering the frames, so the frame times are a little higher, and you can also see that there are a lot more spikes in the green graph. The red one, which is the 2500K, is a lot smoother. Okay, let's see the frame rate as well. Again, in the red is the 2500. It is higher for all frame, the whole duration of the run. Min, max and averages, of course the minimum is the same for both systems due to the video at halfway the benchmark, stupid video, and of course the average is a little better on the 2500K with a higher maximum as well. Variability and stuttering is better on the 2500K, again due to the single-threaded nature of this game. It was still quite high. The 2500K was also CPU limited, don't forget that. It is not an excellent run by far for the GTX 1070. I'm guessing 20% performance increase would be within reach with a better CPU. The percentiles, we see this steep dive in the frame times because this one is the 2 to 3% of the time that the video took, so the real benchmark starts, the real frame time starts from about the 96th percentile, at which point the 2500K is obviously quite faster by about 2 or 3 milliseconds. 2 or 3 milliseconds that are quite important for such games, fast-paced racing games. You must squeeze all the performance you can actually master. And finally, the comparable frame rate for both runs. This means what you actually feel like when the overall feeling of how the frame rate feels when you play, due to the stuttering and the variability of the frame times, etc. Once more, quite better on the 2500K, but this number could easily go to 60, I believe, with a faster CPU, a faster single core CPU, so I'm guessing that this game would not run too good on Ryzen CPU. I think KB Lake would be much more preferable for this game. Even the dual core KB Lake should be better for this game. That's how badly threaded it is. In any case, it is what it is. I hope you find this video interesting, my friends. Thank you very much for watching, and once again I will see you in my next video.